I won't say that this is the last video response I'll ever make to Thunderfoot, but his videos seem to be getting so repetitive and less relevant that I find myself losing interest. I didn't really want to get involved in the Draw Muhammad Day 2 thingy, but I received so many personal messages that I suppose I felt morally bound to respond. I've said what I've said about what I think of Thunderfoot's methods, and here I'd just like to point out a couple of problems that I have with his videos in general, especially his recent ones. First of all, ever since I started to watch his videos, I've noted that he's got this linear view of history that seems to indicate or posit the view that we're evolving from some sort of primordial slime and darkness into the bright uplands, I believe, is somehow the way that he phrases it. Well, I am a sometime historian, amateur one, that is. My take on history has shown me, or has at least led me to conclude that history doesn't work like that at all. This idea of rising up from the darkness is in many ways a Christian belief, the fall and the rise back up to the kingdom of the godly, the reign of God on earth. I would think that even a cursory look at our history would show that there is plenty of darkness in the modern age, and a lot of it has been facilitated by science. I would say that the darkest of dark ages in the entirety of human history, and I don't exaggerate here, was the first half of the previous century. That involved the First and Second World Wars, the Shoah, massive science-facilitated violence and genocide, the likes of which the world had never seen before. And a lot of the ideologies that precipitated this sort of thing, militant fascism, Marxism, nationalism even, had its roots in what Churchill called perverted science. I'm not going to condemn the West for any of this. I'm not going to condemn the scientific outlook for any of this. But everything is a double-edged sword in this regard. Science can be good, and it can be bad. I find it an affront to science that Thunderfoot is now using science for the crassest of motivations, that of deliberately offending. That's not, in my view, what science is all about. I thought science was about curing diseases, about exploring the universe, explaining it to us, making life better. But you can use it for all kinds of nasty things, including incinerating entire cities, creating germs that'll wipe out the human race if we're not careful. Again, I'm not condemning science in any way at all, but an exaggerated faith in it is somewhat misplaced. Secondly, I know that this really isn't Thunderfoot's concern, but to condemn or to criticize the Islamic world by the events unfolding in a particularly backward, uneducated, and isolated part of the Islamic world, i.e. Afghanistan, and no insult meant here to Afghans. I'm simply saying that the people that behaved as they did lately, going on a rampage and slaughtering people and burning effigies and stuff, are not exactly the world's most educated people. And while completely ignoring what's going on in the Arab world, where the Arab people, if one can say such a thing, are teaching the entire world what fighting for freedom means. Maybe the end result, what they're looking for, might look a little bit different from democracy as we see it in the West. It'll probably be a deeply conservative sort of democracy, because that's simply the way those societies are. but they're sick and tired of living in a cocoon where whenever they see something about the outside world, it absolutely shocks them. I think that they're big enough to take the onslaught of new information, and I think that they're going to learn that the best thing to do when someone behaves like a barbarian and burns 40,000 Qur'ans on a hard drive is to simply shrug and say, oh well, I guess people are always going to do things like that, but I've got more important things to do with my life than to get all worked up about it. Internet pranks are really, at the end of the day, not all that important in the grand scheme of things. So, again, Thunderfoot's message is getting a little old, and I think that in spite of his view of history, real history is kind of leaving him in the dust. Thank you.